You know that recurring dream I always talk about? I haven't had it in a long time now. Funny enough, since I saw a house in a Portuguese neighborhood in Fall River, Massachusetts recently that looked exactly like the house in the dream. I didn't go into anything like that. But it was funny, it was right next to the Lizzie Borden house in a very kind of a neighborhood that had a kind of feel about it. Anyway, well, not because Portuguese people live in it, it's just that you could feel something in the soil or something. Now, and there was also a big creepy Catholic church there. Now, the thing I'll always recall most about that dream is the sense of evil. I can't, I cannot put it into words, but it's like no other sensation I felt in my life. It's a combination of extreme terror, anxiety, a physical sensation, a physical, a physical like current of something that you cannot possibly classify. And like as I always mention in that dream, as I go up the floors of the house, the sensation of this dread, this over, it's almost like it's so strong, it's almost like a gas, or I feel the actual subatomic nature of the location breaking down, or me breaking down. And it's like it's almost like you feel like what you would imagine a moth feels like just before it's electrocuted in a zapper. That kind of, I can't, it's just impossible to describe a feeling because it's just nothing I'd never felt before in my daily life. I only ever felt in this dream, and also in some levels on an intuitive aspect. Now, I was talking to someone the other day, and they're showing in the local cinema here the screening of the very famous 1991 In Excess concert at Wembley, which you've all seen. It's the one that they start off a new sensation. The place goes nuts. And though I'm not a huge In Excess fan, I did like the band a lot, and I thought Michael Hutchence had an incredible voice, and there was an unbelievable frontman. And when that man died, I got that same sense of evil was afoot. Now, I know the guy had emotional problems from being beat up by a taxi driver, and there was lots of drugs involved and relationship issues involved and this kind of thing. But you know, when somebody, I have a very funny attitude to this. There are certain pop stars that almost are gods when they die. Freddie Mercury is one. Absolutely, Freddie Mercury is one. And then there's some pop stars who haven't attained that godhood yet. And Michael Hutchence is one of them. I find it very difficult to even look at or listen to In Excess, because the horrible tragedy of that man dying in the prime of his life affected me very deeply, and not for a celebrity thing or anything like that. I don't give a shit about celebrities. There was something not right. I had that sense of evil surrounding the man's death. Now, even when he died, I remember being right before he died, MTV, I was still living in America, MTV did a very, very good live broadcast of them doing it, and they were on fire. They were amazing, and he was amazing. And they were more and more like a rock or a punk band than they had been a kind of pop band as they were during the 80s. There was a real element of, a real fire to them. And I remember being very impressed, and then a few weeks later, I'm watching MTV, switch it on, the Tabitha Soren news, and she comes on and says Michael Hutchence was found dead in a hotel room in Australia. And immediately I knew something wasn't right. And when I think of Michael Hutchence's death, I'm overcome by a sense of evil. Not him being evil, but there was evil afoot. And this is only exacerbated by a certain individual, an Irish celebrity, I won't even call him a rock star, who is somehow connected to all this. I'm not saying he's responsible for anything or did anything or involved in anything, but he seems to be the focal point. First of all, Michael Hutchence was found dead in a hotel room, apparently having hanged himself, or then there's the autoerotic asphyxiation. I often wonder about this autoerotic asphyxiation thing. I think that some of these celebrities who've been found hanged, not in his case, I don't think it was in his case, were doing annihilation gnosis. They were trying to, when suddenly someone you have, like, I'm not going to name any celebrities out of respect for who found dead in hotel rooms hanged, but some of them, their suicides made absolutely no sense. And at least one case, one person who died recently from hanging in a hotel room, his girlfriend was a well-known witch from magic circles in Italy, and I know for a fact she is because of my own connection to the mothers of Turin. Now, the and she's not very well highly thought of either, and in Italian occult circles. Now, back to Michael Hutchins. Michael Hutchins, first of all, he's with Paula Yates, and they're supposed to get married. Now, Paula Yates is an interesting person as well. I grew up watching her as a kid on the Tube, very good Channel 4 live music rock show back in the day. And she was the daughter, although she didn't know it growing up, of a celebrity called Huey Green. Huey Green was very much part of this Jimmy Savile world. Now, I don't know, I'm not saying he's a pedo or anything like that, I don't know, but he was definitely of that generation of British, and that scene of British broadcasters, the ones who were based, so many of them ended up being accused of the most horrible things and were arrested or charged. And so he was from that world. She was almost like sacrificed or something afterwards. This is a girl who didn't even drink or anything, and suddenly she's a heroin addict. And she's saying things like Bob Geldof is, if you knew him, he's the most evil man in the world. Now, I'm not going to read too much into that, because when couples break up, or when two people have loved each other, they can say the most awful things about each other, and that's just the whole love and hate is the same thing. That's all that is. And that's a chemical adjustments in the body. The person is trying to hate the other person in order to get their obsession with them out of them, to like burn the chemicals out of them, because there's still a connection or a bond there, and that's where that comes from. So that may have been the case with her. I don't know. It could be true as well. So before Michael Hutchins dies, it feels immediately dark. They have his funeral, and his wife, Paula Yates, dyes her wedding dress black for the funeral. And I just remember thinking that was just, I mean, people say it was flaky celebrity. I just found it just awfully sad and terribly heartbreaking. Then Paula Yates dies of a heroin overdose, and that was just so strong. Now I understand a broken heart and everything, and obviously it did seem that the two of them were completely in love and had a baby. Then the baby is taken by Bob Geldof and raised as his own, a child who has no biological connection to. I don't know how legally, statutorily, or in any other way how he got that child. It was almost like, I know this sounds nuts, but it's almost like this is what it sounds like. I'm not saying this is what it is. It's almost like, like the child of of someone who was a special child or something, like, on a cult ritual, and it was the parents were irrelevant. The child's soul and body was the most important. It was almost like that. It was just so creepy, especially as Michael Hutchins' parents and family members easily had the capabilities and the financial ability to look after that child properly in Australia, its homeland, but it's brought over to London to be raised by Paula Yates' ex-husband, and then under stranger circumstances, her daughter with Bob Geldof, Peaches, ends up dying of a heroin overdose. And that girl, before she died, she was honestly quite smart. She had mentioned that she had posted on her Twitter feed the names of the women who had handed Ian Watson their babies for him to rape. Now, that wasn't just one woman, there was several. and they were just as guilty as Ian Watson, but they got off it because this women are innocent, as we all know, in the eyes of the courts these days. And she, to her Peaches Geldof, to her credit, named those women and who they were. And this is the darkness of the darkness and the darkness of this world. And then she's suddenly dead. Ian Watson's going to walk out of prison a multi-millionaire because it's just the money keeps rolling in from the lost profits, and there's no one to sue him really, because these women won't come forward and sue him because they'll have to admit that they gave him their babies for him to rape. It's unbelievable. You just can't even grasp this world. So that's a sideline. I won't get to, but I'm just trying to express the sense of evil. So every time I think of Michael Hutchence, I don't see him as a god. Although he has all the things. He was beautiful looking. He was an incredible singer, incredible frontman, by all accounts a very nice guy in real life. And he has not attained godhood because I believe there are unanswered questions surrounding his death. And when I think of those unanswered questions, I'm overcome by a sense of absolute and total evil.